Hello and welcome to another episode of the God is a Geek Retrocast. This is Lee Garbett, and joining me as always is Robin Parker.
Shimon.
Shimon indeed. So we're going to play an interesting little game which many of you might have played. It's called Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. Quite some timing on our part really, because if you're watching this the day it comes out, it's actually been 4 years since Michael Jackson passed away to this day.
So crazy. It doesn't seem that long.
It doesn't. So we thought we'd play a bit of tribute by playing quite an unusual game. Actually, surprisingly decent game, dare I say it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there might have been a few weird things about it, but it was the game played very well, and I mean the animation you can see even on Michael himself was pretty great for the time.
Yeah, I mean this was a really early Mega Drive game. I mean, I think the Moonwalker film had been out for quite a bit of time when this had actually appeared, but you know, Sega did do an arcade version of Moonwalker, which was more of an isometric game, and obviously there was this version as well as one on the Master System as well, I believe.
Yeah, definitely was. Yeah, it was very similar to this, just a bit simplified as Master System versions often were.
It's a very, very unique. It plays very differently to many other types of games. I mean, as you can see from here, it's surprisingly faithful to elements of the film. Which, I mean, Moonwalker itself is a very unusual film. It's more of an anthology of different kind of clips and films based on Michael Jackson. But I think this game does very good job at kind of mimicking one particular short film.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the great thing is each level is kind of based around a different song, a different theme, a different persona from each of the sort of different music videos or different sections of the film. And it really recreates all of that feeling really well, really accurately.
It does. I mean, like, they nailed being Michael Jackson perfectly. I mean, like, everything you do in this game, it feels like a dance move, from walking around to attacking. I mean, you can even actually do the moonwalk by if you kick but keep the button held and move the other direction, you continue to moonwalk. It's that detailed.
Yeah, I mean, as we just saw a minute ago, yeah, it sort of very much fits in with Michael Jackson's persona, but your special move, which helps you clear out a large amount of enemies, is to dance with them.
Yeah, and it all features Michael Jackson's music as well. I mean, it's got all sorts of tracks, all the popular ones from the Moonwalker film. Early versions of this game feature Thriller, although that was removed for copyright reasons in later versions because Michael Jackson didn't write it. I think they replaced it with Another Part of Me, I think. But yeah, there's also, there's Billie Jean's here. There's Bad, Smooth Criminal. It's surprising like how much music they've managed to put in this, considering it's quite an early Mega Drive game, and it sounds good and it fits right, and it's just amazing. And Michael's so animated as well. Like the animation on him as a character is really well done.
Yeah, he does his little crotch grabs, his little like whacking his heel with his hand, like all his little dance moves and little characteristics he does. Yeah, obviously, all the time whilst you're also kicking hookers as you walk past them, which is a bit strange, and having the kids sort of jumping around when you save them. There's a few kind of strange design choices which in retrospect weren't particularly good, but when you look back at his career as a whole, having the kids is a bit strange. But obviously at the time, I mean, it was a pretty faithful game to the film, and pretty great, some nice little touches which really made it great for a Michael Jackson fan.
Yeah, I mean, let's deal with that slightly kind of wrongness there. I mean, this game is basically based around the part of the film where it's Michael Jackson rescuing kids from evil Joe Pesci as a drug lord who's basically trying to sell heroin to kids. That's a bit wrong in itself, but the idea of the game is to basically rescue children. You have to find them in locked doors and in bushes and things, which, considering controversies later on in Michael's life, it's quite odd. Not exactly. It's just the strangest coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you play this game, you brush it off as a coincidence, because at the time, none of that sort of stuff had surfaced. It was you just try and look at it as in being innocent at the time, really.
Yeah, and you got to remember this is covering Michael Jackson at the peak of his career. I mean, I think it's, if you're under the age of probably 25, I think it'd be difficult for you to understand how popular Michael was at the time. I mean, like, forget Lady Gaga, forget Justin Bieber. They were nowhere near as popular as Michael was in his prime.
No, he was impossibly popular. It was it was a phenomenon. It's you probably won't see anything similar again, really. And controversy was bound to follow him around. So it's no surprise that things like that would come out at some point. But you just have to remember that, like you said, this came out when he was popular, when he was at the peak of his popularity, which was why he had he had a film, a multi-format game. A lot of effort was put into this because he was such a big star. Yeah,
I mean, Sega had a very, very close working relationship with Michael. I mean, they sponsored a few of his tours, and obviously that led to this game coming out. Michael was known for having a huge, expansive collection of Sega arcade machines. I mean, he pretty much had everything they ever released. It was quite the collection by the time a lot of that stuff was auctioned. In the early 2000s. So he was big into games. He's made several appearances in many games since then. I mean, he was in Ready to Rumble Boxing. He was in Space Channel 5 as well. And he allegedly wrote the music for Sonic 3. There's quite a lot of evidence on the internet too that proves that theory.
Yeah, he was a big gamer, and you wonder how much input he had onto the design of this game itself. It would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I mean, this was developed by AM7, which is one of Sega's Japanese development studios. And obviously, it's as I say, it's amazing how faithful this game is to everything Michael did in terms of the dancing and they just absolutely nailed it, and you rarely get that amount of attention to detail even today.
Yeah, and it's even if maybe you don't appreciate the gameplay, if you're a fan of Michael Jackson, there's lots to take from this game. I mean, it's a great sort of bit of memorabilia for fans even.
It is. I mean, it is a bit repetitive, this game. It is basically find the children, get to the end of the level, kill all the enemies without dying. I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But I think it's a general experience, the general aesthetics, the music, of course, the novelty of seeing bubbles there and telling you where to go, and doing your little dance moves and having the little dance number at the end, which is just the best smart bomb move ever.
Yeah, and of course we haven't even touched upon the levels where you turn into a car or a robot.
Yeah, I think we might see a bit of that in a bit actually, but yeah, there was some very odd. Again, it wasn't unfaithful. It was that's the stuff that happened in the film. So I mean, as weird as it was, it is utterly faithful to Moonwalker the film completely. I mean,
it's just. I mean, it was an incredibly weird part of the film.
I mean, we're used to, especially in retro games, we're used to movie licensed games like taking liberties with the license and putting things that definitely weren't in the film or the show. But this is all taken like from either Moonwalker or it's inspired by some of the music, and so it's just very unusual.
Yeah, there's some nice, great little touches. I mean, but just the fact that each level has such a strong theming as well. It's a great idea, great design. But I mean, there was also you were mentioning Mega Drive, the Master System version earlier. There was also an arcade release, which was a completely different game.
Yeah, it was
isometric.
That's right, and it was 3 players as well. Each player being a different Michael,
different coloured suit.
I mean, there's a 2-player mode on this, and it's more of a take a turns kind of thing, where one player's wearing a white suit and the other's wearing like a pinky red suit. Again, a nice little feature, like a bit unnecessary, but if you want to play with friends and take turns, that's all good.
Yeah, there was often modes like that in single player games back in the day. I mean, it was negligible. You wasn't really sure how much it added to the overall experience, but I guess it was just a nice little feature, so you could take turns with a mate, especially if you had maybe a brother or a sister who wanted to play as well.
So as you just saw, I used the Smart Bomb dance move, which, as I mentioned earlier, is Thriller, which was taken away from later versions of the game, and that is something that does happen as rights for things get sorted out, and then games, especially on the Mega Drive, it happened quite a lot where a game would come out with one piece of content, and then as later versions would come out, things would be removed or changed to reflect whatever impending lawsuit or copyright issues coming along. I mean, I think it was Revenge of Shinobi had that quite a fair bit with early versions of the game featuring Batman. But, we see, as you mentioned earlier, the robot section of the game. If you pick up a child in a certain order, you basically see a shooting star appear, and touch it and you turn into this all-powerful robot that doesn't really have much of a purpose because you can't actually get the kids. I mean, you can see where they're hiding and you can kill enemies all the time, but it's more of a, oh my god, this is actually happening, this is so awesome kind of thing.
It's incredibly strange.
Yeah, it's not really useful at all. It's just utterly batshit insane. But again, completely faithful to the source material.
Yeah, which makes it even more baffling. Because this actually happened. I mean, I implore you, if you haven't seen the film, go and watch the film. It's interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. As I say, this bit of the film is based on an evil drug lord trying to sell heroin to kids, and there is a section where Joe Pesci's threatening to inject a child with heroin, and it's just like, wow, you could not get away with that these days.
No, it's pretty insane.
In a family film, no less. I mean,
yeah, it was definitely marketed as a film for the whole family to go and see. I mean, Michael Jackson was, everyone loved him back then. Every age could enjoy his music and his videos. So yeah, you would have taken your children to see this film about heroin, and it wouldn't have been really thought of twice at the time.
There you go, did a little moonwalk there quickly. There you go.
Showing it is possible.
Yes, I mean, it looks good though. Like, no matter what you do in this game, it looks awesome.
They've definitely spent a long time, whether or not on the other sprites, but on the Michael Jackson sprite, they've spent a lot of time making sure the animations all look authentic. They make it, they've got his dance moves down really well.
Definitely, it's a very unique game. I mean, I don't think you see many other celebrities or musical artists have a game that's quite this unique. I mean, there have been games based on other artists before. I mean, there was that god-awful Britney Spears dance game a few years ago.
God-awful Spice Girls game.
yeah, god-awful rhythm games based on artists. But this was a legit action platformer, an arcade machine based on one of the biggest selling artists ever. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and you can turn into a mech.
Exactly.
What more could you ask for?
Exactly. Well, on that note, we'll let Michael Jackson fight for a bit longer. But that's it for this week's God is a Geek Retrocast. You can watch all our past, present and future episodes via the Retrocast playlist on the God is a Geek YouTube channel, and also via the God is a Geek TV channel on Blip TV and the God is a Geek TV podcast channel on iTunes. Of course, you can visit our website at www.godisageek.com, where you can also check out all of our other fine podcasts, videos, news, reviews, previews and features. And of course, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter at the Retrocast, you can also keep up to date with what we're up to. So thanks very much for watching, and until next time, keep it retro.
See you later. Hee hee.
Shamon!